God bless you, Patriots, and welcome to Patriot News Broadcasting. Hold the line, right? It's good to see you guys on this Thursday night. In case you've all forgotten already, we're hosting a debate here on the channel tomorrow about election integrity. Mark Cook versus Aubrey. Jan Halper Hayes is going to be moderating this debate right here, Patriot News Broadcasting. So I hope you're all here at 3 o'clock Central tomorrow to check out that debate. It's going to be a fun time. I was pretty happy today. I got in touch with some people that can really help me out with connections to get interviews on the channel, which is great. But I can't even pay my internet anymore. And I'm not trying to say that to make people feel bad. I'm just saying, between my rent and my electric, I'm more than wiped out. And I just don't know. I don't know how to do it all anymore. It's insane. And I know you guys know what I'm talking about. So, after tomorrow, I may have to go down for a couple of days at the very, very least. I don't know. I was really wanting to get to the point where I do an interview, at least one interview per week. Let's take a look at some interesting posts today. A little update on the DC situation: 1,841 arrests, 188 illegal guns seized. This post has been going around all day. Dan Scavino posted this late last night saying POTUS just may break the internet shortly. What do you guys think? What do you think it's about? What do you think he's trying to tell you? There's a lot of these ominous posts today that we're going to look at. I'm feeling better. I didn't sleep though because a spider crawled up my leg last night. It's just like the size of a 50-cent piece, and I'll never be the same. I'll just say that, you know. I thought I should call in the National Guard or amputate my leg or something drastic. I can still feel all 8 legs of the spider crawling up my leg. How much is the bill? It's just under 100, I think. Something like that. These spiders, man, this freaking time of year. Anyway, DC National Guard, speaking of them, they've been ordered to extend the remainder of their time there. It's not going to be 30 days anymore. It's going to be through the rest of the year, or so it seems for now. So don't expect to see them go anywhere. This from Rand Paul saying there's going to be significant revelation about Anthony Fauci in the next week. I did almost have a heart attack, Gingeroo. All those years I've been taking blood pressure medicine just went out the window. So what do you think might be the revelation about Anthony Fauci coming in the next week, other than he's possibly hiding in Italy? Let me guess, he'll have a virus or he'll die and won't be able to find him. According to a leak, the Department of Homeland Security has reportedly requested military assistance for upcoming ICE operations in Chicago. Yeah, blame it on Homeland Security. I don't think they've got their shit together well enough to organize anything, let alone a rummage sale even. But that being said, the people of Chicago are begging for people to come help, especially those who've lost their children to senseless shootings. We'll start there.
My son went outside The boys pulled up right behind our house. They shot him down in the alley. I mean, I was home. His brother was home. We found my son literally on the ground in the alley taking his last breath. My name is Marquita Sally. I'm from the south side of Chicago, born and raised here. I'm a mother of 3 boys that was also born and raised here. Unfortunately, my oldest was shot and killed here in Chicago. When holidays and birthdays and stuff come around, we are together. But the process itself has been rough.
She was just learning to drive. The car outside that I'm driving now would have been his right now today. But we didn't have those opportunities because he was taken away from us too early.
We could straighten out Chicago. All they have to do is ask us to go into Chicago if we don't have the support of some of these politicians. But I'll tell you who is supporting us, the people of Chicago.
So President Trump says the people of Chicago support his plan to send in the National Guard and others, despite city leaders rejecting the idea. Our next guest knows the city's crime crisis all too well. 5 years ago, her daughter, Jaya, was shot and killed while at a convenience store. Naisha B.
One story after another like that. You can pile them up. Parents that have lost their kids. We're going to get into some odd things today, I'll tell you what. Not quite done here yet, though.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Eliza Petrie. We begin tonight with continuing coverage. More pushback from Illinois Voices about a possible deployment of the National Guard in Chicago. On Tuesday, the Illinois Democratic leaders held a press conference with Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson to say Chicago does not need National Guard help. They say a deployment.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. The kids are carrying guns. They're carrying guns. We're moving out of Chicago. One more.
So how has the city safety changed over the years?
From bad to worse. It's just getting worse and worse every day. Every day, you know, the local media sometimes
I feel sorry for those of you tuning out right now. You go over to Rumble, you find one of those big name news shows over there, and you go watch those stories that are 10 days old. And I will sit over here pitying you. It's kind of funny all these governors are acting like they're preparing for military takeover when it's actually more likely they're preparing for public disclosure of high-profile arrests. That's a thinker. How does that make sense, patriots? You know the answer. Because you're watching a fucking movie. Yeah, you keep tuning out. You keep missing the good news. You know it's happening. I know it's happening. Did I just offend 4 of you? Trump will appeal the $5 million E. Jean Carroll ruling to the Supreme Court. You remember E. Jean? I don't think I need to recap that. You know, when I went to school, I had to ride the bus home in the evening, and it took a good hour to get home, and it sucked. But it's nothing like the hell this kid went through on his first day of school.
You have to hear this story. Parents in the city of New Britain, Connecticut, already fed up just 1 week into the school year with buses being delayed hours and bringing kids to wrong drop-off locations. But nothing compares to this. One mom says her son, who's diagnosed with autism, was brought 49 miles in the opposite direction of their home, and it wasn't until she called police that the driver realized, eventually bringing her son to a meetup point in the middle. She's now demanding a personal apology from the bus company. First student.
Here's something that'll piss you all off while there are those of you changing the channel right now. I've recently given the Gaza-Israel situation a second thought, not that I'm not constantly thinking about it, and I've decided I'm on Israel's side. Go ahead, throw food at me, throw stuff at me, change channel. I see it coming. It's a weird situation. Don't get me wrong, they're both idiots. They're both assholes. They're both corrupt. And there's people suffering on both sides. But the people in the West Bank, the people in Gaza don't want to fucking be run by Hamas. Now, do they? And that's what's happening. People of Israel, well, they don't want to be run by an idiot like Netanyahu now, do they? So, I'm starting to see the situation there. And you got the United Nations sitting right there in between, playing their little game. Of course, if you watched Nino recently, the one guy says that, you know, Trump's part of the Jewish lobby and blah, blah, blah. Was it Nino? It was a different channel. I don't know. I downloaded it. We'll look at it. We got a lot of interesting things to look at tonight. Like always, weird stuff going around. It's sad what people believe. I feel sad for the world every day when I get online and flip to the White House page and see people saying, Trump's in the Epstein files, Trump's on the Epstein list. A piece of me dies for humanity when I see that shit. New York City Mayor Eric Adams facing a decision. He's been invited to the Trump administration, mainly so Trump can kind of handle the election there.
Well, tomorrow will mark 2 months until Election Day and potential presidential persuasion in the race for mayor. CBS News New York has learned the Trump administration is weighing potential job offers for Mayor Adams. Sources say the goal is to narrow the election to a two-man race. Allie Bauman is here now to break this all down for us, Allie.
I can hear it now. Trump's meddling in the election. That's funny. You know, might as well show this while we're on the topic of the New York election. Chelsea, they were saying she was going to run yesterday. She's saying she will be passing on the congressional bid as John F. Kennedy's grandson considers running for the New York seat. Chelsea, Jack, Chelsea.
ジェリー・ナドラー下院議員が来年の再選を目指さないという突然の発表は、ニューヨークの政界に衝撃を与え、長年議員を務めたナドラー氏の後任に
Okay. You caught that, right? Why does that keep happening? You get these videos in English and you download them and they're in a different language. This job sucks, guys. Playing this news production thing. It really sucks some days. And really, after my spider incident last night, I should probably be in therapy. I'm still not right. I'll never be the same again. Hamas is begging the United Nations for action as Israel escalates a brutal bombardment of Gaza, saying that, hey, we want peace talks, we want ceasefires, and we told you we would do that, and now you're bombing us, and we never got an answer. And for some reason, Mr. Cuomo here thought he could break it down properly. Let's see how he does.
Tonight, we have proof that, man, it's hard to be reasonable. It is much easier to be rash, and that's why we see such extreme positions all the time. So I start off with this first issue. The president made a new play for peace in the Middle East. Did you see what he put out? Tell Hamas to immediately, all caps, give back all 20 hostages, not 2 or 5 or 7, and things will change rapidly. It will end. Wish he was right. I also wish he had added that Hamas must surrender to end this war. They started it, and constantly say they will attack again. Now, I'm not saying they started it like a child. I'm saying it because only then will the onus, okay, the burden shift to Israel to stop the war. They have their people back. There is surrender. There must be peace. And there is no questioning that this has gone on too long and it's been too destructive to too much.
Should be pretty easy at this point. Those who are still alive are getting pushed out. Don't know where they're going, but they're getting pushed out and hopefully are allowed to go back someday, but there's nothing left for them there except death. So I don't know what to say. Now I want to look at something else that Netanyahu talked about the other day. Let's take a look at this. The starving children. Let's look.
For much of Gaza's population, every day is a struggle to eat. 17-year-old Ahmed Ali Batniji told us in his own words what it feels like to starve. I only eat one meal a day, he said. Every day.
Let me tell you something, patriots. I only eat one meal a day, if that. And I don't look like that. The reason I'm saying this is because, of course, Benjamin Netanyahu is accusing Hamas of taking these kids with diseases and showing them off as starving. And he's actually got some pretty good evidence about it. So let's take a look. I mean, we watched the video of him talking about it, but you know, he's talking about these pictures. In this one, he points out how you've got this guy starving here, but the guy taking the picture's got this big old chubby fat arm. I don't know. They're both assholes, aren't they? A judge reversed Trump's administration cuts of billions in research funding to Harvard. We'll see how long that goes over.
Tonight, Harvard is celebrating a legal victory over the Trump administration. A federal judge rules the government broke the law when it cut off more than $2 billion in federal funding.
But as Courtney Cole shows us tonight, the White House is already vowing to appeal.
David and Lisa, it was a split decision from the judge, but ultimately a win for Harvard. The ruling found the Trump administration was right to call out Harvard's subpar record on battling anti-Semitism. However, the judge ruled that was not the White House's true reason for freezing federal dollars and research grants, calling it a, quote, smokescreen for a targeted, ideologically motivated assault on this country's premier universities. Today, Harvard students were vindicated by the court's decision.
But it made me happy to know that the judicial system is sticking up for us and that they'll have our back and they're always going to fight for the truth and fight for an institution that also cares about the truth.
You know, a lot of that money is being used for life-saving research to advance, research in Alzheimer's, cancer. It's being put to good causes, and it's not like the advances that are being made from Harvard are insular. They're to help the general public.
Tonight, the White House says Harvard does not have...
Bullshit, and more bullshit. I don't think Harvard does much of anything to help the public, frankly, but... yeah. You guys really want to go there? You know, watching the movie Arachnophobia, I think it really messed with everybody. I had a fear of turning on lamps after that. You know, he puts his hand in the lamp to turn it on. The spider comes down the string. Or when he sits on the toilet, the spider's there behind him. I was watching my back all the time. It's terrible. Hell no, it's not over. It'll go to the Supreme Court. Now let's talk about this. I think Trump's being set up again. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm starting to question the legitimacy of Marjorie Taylor Greene. Call me crazy here. So this woman got up there yesterday and said, oh, he has an 8x10 frame picture of Donald Trump on his desk. He was his biggest brag and blah, blah, blah. let's listen and see if you can think what's wrong with what she's saying.
My first trip to the Palm Beach residence, I drove there from the airport with Ghislaine Maxwell, and Jeffrey and Ghislaine were always very boastful about their friends, their famous or powerful friends, and his biggest brag forever was that he was very good friends with Donald Trump. He had an 8x10 framed picture of him on his desk with the two of them.
Liar.
They were very close.
Everything she said was a lie. Let me tell you why. Number one, Jeffrey Epstein was a quiet dude that kept to himself. He didn't sit there and brag about people. He didn't sit there and brag about bragging about people. He didn't brag about being friends with Donald Trump or have a picture on his desk. Now, this woman, even if he did say stuff like that, she wouldn't have heard it. And had she heard stuff like that, I would have to ask, why do we know the name Virginia Giuffre so much when this woman knows so much more about it all? And that being said, if she knows so much more about it, how come she's alive on national TV blabbing and Virginia Giuffre's dead? Does that make any sense at all? This woman's a paid bunch of bullshit. We'll look at it more. This is from MJ. Entire Epstein survivor press conference today was just delegitimized. Look at who they are working with. Attorney Gloria Allred spoke alongside the same exact survivors Massey had up. Gloria Allred's daughter, Lisa Bloom, literally offered money to women to falsely accuse Donald Trump of sexual harassment and assault between 2016 and 2017. According to The Hill, Lisa Bloom arranged financial support, such as paying off a mortgage and offering up to $750,000 for women considering public accusations against Trump during the 2016 election. Bet you didn't know that, did ya? Probably should have. So, what does that tell you? Now, who was out there yesterday? Massey? Well, he's a douchebag. I could see him organizing that. But why was Marjorie Taylor Greene right in the middle of all of it? Makes me wonder. I don't know. And what's funny, what's even weirder about this is when they ask these women about it.
Apparently you have missed.
Oops, wrong one.
What a great question.
Oh, wrong one again. We got it here somewhere.
I do have to ask, and I know, and it's just something that I think we're compelled to at this moment, with the attention on President Trump, with these questions around a pardon. Did anybody see or hear of the president himself doing anything inappropriate as it related to Jeffrey Epstein?
No.
So they all came out and say no, but then suddenly they pull this woman out of their pocket who says yes. Yeah. Get where we're going with this? I do want to make a few more points with those videos, though. Which one?
What a great question. Ironically, it's always going to be people on the right or in the center right, never on the left, who will ask something like this. Now, go look at this comment and then go look at one of the comments, political something or another. I forget the screen name or whatever. Do not bully this person. Please don't. Just post facts. And then that's the kryptonite of the left. All 10 said Trump was innocent. What's the left going to do now? Well, just like Virginia Giuffre, right? They never believed her, and it's believe all women. They love Governor Gavin Newsom's wife. However, she was with the man that literally started the Me Too movement. And so they never believed Virginia Giuffre when she said that Trump was innocent. She was one of Epstein's longest victims. One of the most outspoken victims, and then she was unalived by a truck. How many people do you know that unalive themselves via truck? I mean, some people do it the carbon monoxide way, but jumping in front of a truck? No.
Here's my bigger thought. If it's all an act, it's all a movie, Why does Trump, why did they want that to happen yesterday? Why would Trump want a woman to come out and make that accusation yesterday? Why would he want the left to continue their charade of thinking he's on this list? Does it keep them busy and distracted, calling for the Epstein papers? Does it make them look stupid? Is he trolling them? He's controlling this shindig, in my opinion. Let's see. Did we watch that? Watch that. This one.
Apparently, you have missed the memo. 6 Democrats have now blocked the list. All Democrat appointed judges. Obama appointed judges.
Now, she's talking about the past there, but she's right. How many times did the left and their judges block the release of the list? Over and over and over. Led by Dick Durbin, you know, and then suddenly they think Trump's there and it's all the rave. They're all concerned. I want to play something else here. Have they got an actor involved in this weirdness? This guy makes Trump sound like an asshole, but I'm going to turn it around on him.
That's where I met Donald Trump. That's where I became friends with Donald Trump. No longer, but yeah, it was me, Shia, Donald, Melania, and Oliver. That's quite a gathering. There's some weird thing that happened, man. So we're in his apartment, and he's telling us where he was standing when he watched the towers go down. I've always been super into architecture. So he's showing me around his apartment, and then we stopped and started talking, and it was me, Shia, the two of them, and Oliver. I said, "What's upstairs?" He said, "Our bedroom." And I said, "Can I see upstairs?" He said, "Yeah." And then nobody moved. And I said, "Cool, so should we go up?" And he said, "Yeah." And then he still didn't move. And I'm thinking, what the is happening? Like, it's literally, we're in the Twilight Zone now. And then there was silence. And I looked at Oliver. Like this. I looked at Shai. He didn't know what was going on. I said, "So should we go up?" I said it a third time. "So should we go upstairs?" He goes, "Sure." And he didn't move. And then there was silence. And I said, "Well, thanks for having us here. I really appreciate it." He goes, "Yeah, no problem." And he shook his hand and all that. It was the weirdest moment. I still get wigged out by it.
I could tell you exactly what happened there. Trump clearly thought you were a retard. Who goes over to a person's house and says, "Hey, can I see your bedroom?" Especially when Trump's in the middle of telling you a heartfelt story about where he was standing when he saw the towers go down, and you're like, "Hey, can I see your bedroom?" And Trump says, "Sure." He probably wanted to see if you were actually dumb enough to just walk on up there and help yourself. I mean, that's weird. Sorry, Josh Brolin, you're a freak. New details emerge in this situation. There's something wrong with this story, and I know they said there were going to be fake shooting stories, but the story doesn't add up to me. This guy shot this kid in the back. He ran out of the house. This kid comes up, this little boy here, okay? He's 11 years old. He rings the doorbell 3 times, and they jog off. So this man runs out of his house and shoots the kid twice in the back. This tiny little boy. How many of you, I mean, I've had people knock on my door in the middle of the night. Do you automatically just grab your gun and start shooting, even if you see clearly a child there? I mean, I don't know. Something about this story that I just don't.
Memorial for 11-year-old Julian Guzman. That is the Houston boy who was shot and killed over the weekend while playing a child's game of Ding Dong Ditch. This is a story that's now making national headlines. And now the man accused of pulling the trigger is locked up, held on a $1 million bond. His attorney says he had hoped the judge would set a lower bond.
The attorney believes other factors should have been considered. Reporter Maria Aguilera updates us on the investigation.
Dressed in an orange jail jumpsuit with hand and feet shackles, 42-year-old Gonzalo Leon appeared in criminal court for the first time.
You are here charged with murder. It's a first-degree felony.
Prosecutors laid out their case against Leon and allegations that he fatally shot Julian Guzman as the preteen ran away from Leon's home while playing ding-dong ditch with his cousin.
Facts in this case allege that nothing more than someone pulling a prank and knocking a door has resulted in the defendant becoming apparently so enraged that he killed an 11-year-old.
Despite some back and forth over several issues, Judge Emily DeToto cited the ongoing investigation and possibility of charges being upgraded to capital murder because of Guzman's age for her decision.
I am going to grant the state's motion for sufficient bail. Set your bond at $1 million.
It's an appropriate bond. It's an appropriate bond to protect the community from someone who obviously has very little regard for life of any kind.
Leon's newly appointed defense attorney argued that his ties to the community, military service, and family responsibilities should also be considered, not just the unfortunate events of...
Yeah, let's consider all those things. Oh, and then we remember you shot a child in the back, allegedly. I don't care if it was nighttime or not. You can tell the difference between a tall person and a short person. People don't just do that. I don't know. I've never heard of a story quite like that one. Yeah, maybe a dad chasing off a guy that he just found in his daughter's bedroom or something, but somebody knocks 3 times. He didn't know they were ding-dong ditching, you know. For all he knew, they needed help or something. I mean, I don't know. Here's another story. We had looked at this a little bit back about this kid that got hit by a car in a hit and run. And this is actually a different one, but they locked up the wrong guy for it. This guy spent 2 weeks in jail, and then they found out they had the wrong guy.
It obtains new surveillance video showing what is believed to be the SUV belonging to the woman now charged in a hit-and-run crash that killed a 6-year-old boy. You can see the vehicle driving down the street about a minute after the fatal crash. The man who was initially arrested in the case is now free after spending 2 weeks in jail.
He spoke exclusively to Maddie Kurth about how he's working to further clear his name.
I was crucified in every way humanly possible by everybody.
Nearly 3 weeks ago, Cody Bodette found himself handcuffed in the back of a St. Tammany Parish Sheriff's Office cruiser.
You just could hear my 6-year-old screaming at the top of her lungs in, tears from, fear.
Did they tell you what they were picking you up for?
Had no idea what was going on for a few hours.
Unbeknownst to him, St. Tammany investigators made Bodette the prime suspect in the hit-and-run death of 6-year-old Jeremiah Ramirez. A driver killed the boy while deputies say he was riding his scooter in the driveway of his Slidell home around 6 p.m. August 13th. Bodette says he told deputies when they pulled him over in his Chevy Suburban SUV that he was in the area around the time of the crash for his daughter's cheer meeting.
They need to do something about the driving laws. People have gotten extremely reckless. I don't know if it's the phones or just people are stupid and they're not paying attention. Cell phones are problematic. They're getting people killed. I'm not saying that's what happened in that situation, but either way, sad that they locked up the wrong guy for 2 whole weeks. At least 15, it's up to 17 now, of course. People are dead after a popular tourist attraction derails and crashes in Lisbon. That's the picture of the wreck. This is what it looked like before the wreck. Smashed it up good.
But we now know that at least 15 people have been killed and at least 18 others have been injured in an electric streetcar accident that happened in Lisbon, Portugal. Of course, this is the downtown area there of the city. It's a very popular tourist attraction for those who come and visit Portugal. At this time, we know, according to the Associated Press, that 5 of the injured are in serious condition as well at this point. The National Institute for Medical Emergencies said that in a statement as well, noting that an unknown number of those injured are foreigners as well. And
Shit situation. Everywhere in the world, something bad happening. Vladimir Putin issues a new statement on conditions for ending the war against Ukraine. It's pretty much down to his way or the highway, I think.
Is there a chance that it will end soon? How do you feel about this? Are we moving towards a conclusion?
In 2022, we offered the Ukrainian authorities to respect the choice of the people living in southeastern Ukraine, withdraw their troops from there, and end this conflict immediately. I have to say that, overall, this did not cause complete rejection. But after we withdrew our troops from Kiev at the urgent request of our Western European colleagues, the situation immediately changed, and we were told, almost verbatim, the following: "Now we will fight until either you cut off our head or we cut off yours." I don't remember if I ever said this publicly or not, but it sounded roughly like that, though in more vulgar terms, but quite openly and in an oddly comradely manner. Now it's either us or you. And so it goes on like this. Nevertheless, it seems to me that if common sense ultimately prevails, it is possible to agree on an acceptable way to end this conflict. And that is my standpoint, especially since we see the sentiments in the current US administration under President Trump.
All you got to do is hand over the Donbass, Zelensky. Two things. You're not going to be a part of NATO. It's not going to happen, but they're willing to give you NATO-like respect. And number two, you have to give up the Donbass region. You get the hell out of there. And a lot of the people there are Russian and want to be Russian. And then the killing can stop, and you won't have to go and abduct children off the streets and send them off to fight and die anymore. But that's not what they want. They want the people to be dying. They want the war to be happening. That's what the powers that be do. That's why the left can't wrap their head around this. They just can't understand. Somebody actually wants killing and war? Really? Yeah. Hard to believe. Trump's asking the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn the trade tariffs ruling because it could greatly mess up our plans.
Now, we're going to be asking for early admittance. We're going tomorrow, and we're going to ask for expedited ruling because, when you look at the stock market's down today, the stock market's down because of that, because the stock market needs the tariffs. They want the tariffs.
Joining us now on a Fox Business exclusive, Jared Bernstein, the former Council of Economic Advisors chair under President Biden. Okay, Jared, let's just say that the Supreme Court upholds the lower court's ruling, which came in on Friday. Federal Appeals Court said these sweeping tariffs that the president put into place, Section 232, it's an emergency, that they are illegal. Can you explain exactly how this is going to work if importers here in the U.S. who paid those tariffs will get refunded? Let's start with...
See, here's what I'm thinking. Russia should invite all the people fleeing Gaza to come move to the Donbass region and then agree to fight for Russia. And then the war could be over in like 2 seconds. Bit of a move. It's a thought, more of a thought than's gone through Zelensky's head. What a joke. I would be so embarrassed if I were Ukrainian right now. I'd be so fucking embarrassed. Judge says the Trump administration used anti-Semitism as a smokescreen against Harvard as a reason to take away their money.
Tonight, it's Harvard 2, Trump 0. A federal judge finding the administration broke the law by freezing billions of dollars in research funding at the school in the name of fighting anti-Semitism. Now, it's the same judge who blocked Trump's ban on international students at the school in June. And she writes, quote, "We must fight against anti-Semitism, but we equally need to protect our rights, including..."
Is that a joke? Trump's the only country on earth right now standing against the Palestinian state, and you're sitting there saying he's anti-Semitic? I'm telling you, these stories. They had one last night I read. Trump's been lying about his health because a reporter allegedly seen needle marks on his arm. Bullshit. I guarantee you they couldn't see that. I mean, they're printing all kinds of crap now. They had another one last night saying he was losing his mind because when Peter Doocy came up to him and said, "Have you seen this story yet about you being dead?" Trump said, "No." And all the reporters were like, "But he just posted about that like a week ago. How could he forget?" Well, that's not what he posted about. He posted about people saying he had health problems, not that he was dead. There's it's a big difference there between, oh, he's dying and oh, now he's dead. These reporters are a bunch of jagoffs. All right. So the Powerball's still going. It soared to an estimated $1.7 billion now, guys. Setting up another round of frenzied ticket sales ahead of the next drawing, which is this Saturday. There was once again no jackpot winner when the numbers were drawn on Wednesday. It's now the third largest in U.S. history and the biggest since the $1.5 billion was up for grabs back in 2016. Though the chances of winning remain astronomically low, about 1 in 292 million. The massive jackpot has many Americans dreaming about what they would do with the cash prize. Any of you guys going to play the Powerball before it hits tomorrow? Hurricane Kiko's turned up to a pretty powerful Category 4. Is landfall in the forecast? I don't believe so, but let's look.
Let's look over in the Pacific because we have a couple of hurricanes going right now, Lorena and Kiko. Let's look at Lorena first. It's just a beam there of Cabo San Lucas. The winds in Cabo are not bad. I checked them out, but they have had continuous kind of thunderstorms there. But it looks like the storm is out here and is moving to the north, 80-mile-an-hour hurricane at this point. But look at this. When we look at the water temperatures, it's over relatively warm water now, but it's going to run into cool water pretty soon. So the idea is that as it moves to the north, might peak out about 90 miles an hour, but then as it comes ashore, 60, 40, so forth. So
yeah, well, that's landfall on Mexico's coast. That's not our problem, right? You guys are probably like, what's wrong with him showing the weather? What kind of nerd is he? I minored in climatology and I enjoyed it. Does it look dark in here? Florida State's Ethan Pritchard was shot in the head while driving, his father says. Not cool.
Florida State football player is in critical condition but is stable, authorities say. This is after being shot late Sunday night in Havana. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement is still working to figure out what led up to the shooting that night. The Gaston County Sheriff's Office says the shooting happened near the Havana Heights apartments. They said they found Ethan Pritchard hurt inside a car. He was taken to the hospital. FSU head coach Mike Norvell addressed the shooting during a regular press conference yesterday.
I can't believe he's still alive. I mean, you got a 21-year-old freshman football player with his whole life in front of him. Somebody shoots him in the head. Nobody even knows why. It seems random. I can't believe he's still alive. That's a miracle. A dog-walking man stumbled upon a suspected debris from Reagan National plane crash that happened 7 months ago.
I noticed that there was something, it just looked a little bit odd, but there's a lot of trash that's always along the river. But there just seemed to be something like noticeable about it, I guess is the best way to say it. There happened to be like a lever that would, it looked like for the tray table, like you would see on a plane, and there had to be like a leather pouch at the bottom, and just the curvature of the top of it, it very much looked like an airplane seat.
Airplane seat. Well, apparently somebody sucked at their cleanup job, right? Argentinian officials were forced to fly home from the United States after Kristi Noem failed to inform them that their visa ceremony had been canceled. A delegation from Argentina, which arrived in the U.S. for a visa waiver signing ceremony, was reportedly forced to return home empty-handed after Kristi Noem failed to inform them that the event had been canceled. I believe she went horseback riding or something. They flew from Buenos Aires to Miami, where they were told by the Department of Homeland Security not to continue their trip because the agreement, which would allow American and Argentinian citizens to travel between the two countries for up to 90 days without a visa, was missing a signature. And in Venezuela,
it does not get the attention it deserves, but there's no denying that the opioid or fentanyl crisis has been one of the most devastating catastrophes for America this century. It started out with the overprescription of pain pills. It transformed into a massive drug trafficking operation that involves fentanyl ingredients being shipped over from China to South America, turned into pills and drugs, and then smuggled over our southern border. Americans are dying. Yesterday, President Trump, he took decisive action to keep Americans safe from the vile scourge of fentanyl. He blew up a boat filled with drugs that were coming from Venezuela.
It's amazing. We have a president who's literally dedicated to keeping drugs out of this effing country, and the Democrats still want to eat him alive. They just can't see anything good that he does. That alone right there, what he's doing against drugs, the war he's putting up against there, you have no idea how many lives that's going to save, how many high school children are being saved just by blowing up little ships like that and closing down our border. I mean, if you know a person on the left is completely derailed if they can't say one good thing about Trump. The U.S. and Panama is proposing a new force of 5,550 people in Haiti with the power to detain gang suspects. Gotta admit, I don't quite know much about this story.
So the U.S. proposed a more lethal gang suppression force to stabilize Haiti because the gangs are out of control there. Kenya did what they could do, but it wasn't much progress. The United States isn't the only people that's signing off on this. You have Canada, El Salvador, Kenya, of course, and Panama. So this is what their proposal is. So the United States and Panama presented a draft proposal to the UN Security Council on Thursday that would create a gang suppression force with a maximum of 5,500 uniformed personnel. The force will have arrest and detention powers and more military-grade capabilities and lethal equipment. And if y'all could recall back in, I want to say 1915,
gotta have the Haitians need to be able to protect themselves from baby thieves like Hillary Clinton. Who said that? Moving forward, I want to get to our shows. Got some good stuff to watch tonight. DC suing Trump over the National Guard deployment, and I know we've seen a little bit about that.
But this is just kind of the latest wrinkle when it comes to the decision of the National Guard in the district and where things stand now, because what we have now is DC's Attorney General Brian Schwab filing a lawsuit. This is a copy of it that we have right here in the Fox 5 newsroom, a 34-page lawsuit essentially challenging that the National Guard can be here in Washington, D.C. So this is filed, the lawsuit.
What kind of asshole attorney would do such a thing? Could look at the numbers of how much crime has dropped and then say, well, we still need to get them out of here. That's a messed up person. That's an evil person. Oh, we got to fight against Trump's power. They don't even see what he's doing. Oh, He's saving lives. He cleaned up the place. He cleaned out these homeless camps. Oh, he's just, I don't care what he did. He didn't have the right. Freaking people. The new Louisiana lockup ICE jail opens in prison once known as the bloodiest in the United States.
I got a Fox News exclusive where a notorious maximum security prison in the state of Louisiana will also double down as an ICE detention facility to hold the worst of the worst. That's a quote. Brooke Taylor live with a preview of the soon-to-be announced Louisiana lockup in Angola, Louisiana. Good morning there, Brooke.
Hi, Bill. Yeah, we are right outside the notorious Angola prison here in Louisiana. A section of this prison is going to be turned into an ICE detention facility, and it's going to be called Louisiana Lockup. Now, Fox is the first to report that 51 illegal migrants have already been moved here. Louisiana Lockup is going to hold up to 416 beds. The Department of Homeland Security says they've partnered with the state of Louisiana. They are using this unused section of the prison to detain and deport some of the worst illegal migrants. Now, Angola is the largest maximum security prison in the country. It was once named the bloodiest prison in the South for its harsh conditions in the 1960s. Louisiana Lockup is funded by the Big Beautiful Bill, which gave ICE an additional 80,000 detention beds to help ramp up deportations. DHS Secretary...
You know, we got a lot of islands out there. Even some for sale, you know, to celebrities. Why don't they build a prison on one of those islands? Like Alcatraz. Build more of those. And seems like it would be a good idea. Oh, and the story they wanted to make sure you saw all day today about Giorgio Armani dying. Gosh, let's pay our respects.
Giorgio Armani, the Italian designer who turned the concept of understated elegance into a multi-billion-dollar fashion empire, has died. He was 90.
Okay, I'm done paying my respects. Moving forward, Melania was talking about AI in the White House today. What did she call it here? Let me see. Make sure I get this right. She hosted a meeting of the White House Task Force on Artificial Intelligence Education. A startup called Flock plans to combat crime across the United States using over 80,000 cameras and drones for real-time surveillance. Congratulations. We've just become London. How nice, huh?
Well, fighting crime has been in the news as President Trump considers sending the National Guard into Chicago and New Orleans.
One group says using drones could cut down on crime. ABC's Morgan Norwood has the details.
Law enforcement agencies are increasingly turning to drones to fight crime. And now, an artificial intelligence startup known as Flock Safety is making a bold claim. It says its drones could eradicate almost all crime in America in less than a decade.
We think with technology, with people, with policy, crime can be a thing of the past.
Many police departments already use the company's network of 80,000 cameras, providing license plate information and video surveillance. Flock Safety estimating its cameras help solve 1 million crimes per year. But now the company is taking its technology to the skies. This promotional video showing what the drones can do when a person's car is stolen.
Launching drone. Police have been dispatched. I have visual on the suspect vehicle. Direction of travel southbound on Elm Street.
Police, let me see your hands.
They are a huge step up for law enforcement as far.
I think it's a stupid idea. I don't know. I know drones are good for things like looking at places around corners you can't see, going through houses, yada yada. That's a bad idea. We already aren't happy about what they did with the Patriot Act. I don't know why anyone would think this is a good idea or something that Americans want to be watched 24/7. Why don't they just, you know, install cameras into us from the time we're born as babies? Just get it over with, put a little camera right here so you can just watch everything we do Just crawl on up our asses. Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla now says President Trump deserves consideration for the Nobel Peace Prize for his role in Operation Warp Speed. Somehow I think this is good news, though it doesn't sound like it. A judge rules that Google will not have to sell Chrome. I think it's because it's in the white hat hands now, but that's just me.
Google will not have to sell its Chrome browser, but will have to share data with rivals to boost competition in online search. That was the ruling by a judge in Washington on Tuesday. The verdict marked a rare win for big tech over US antitrust watchdogs. It sent shares in parent firm Alphabet soaring over 7% in extended trade. Judge Amit Mehta also ruled that Google could keep its Android operating system, which, together with Chrome, helps drive its market-dominating online ads business. Mehta had ruled last year that the tech giant operated an illegal monopoly in search and related...
Yeah, you think they've got more money than God himself. FBI is investigating John Bolton over whether or not he illegally gathered, transmitted, or lost defense information or engaged in unauthorized removal and retention of classified documents or material. Unsealed documents show. Whew. This news is stale. Department of Justice issues subpoenas in Fed Governor Lisa Cook investigation.
Hey, Carl, good morning. So this is the Wall Street Journal reporting, citing U.S. officials familiar with the matter, saying that the Justice Department has now officially opened a criminal investigation into Lisa Cook and these allegations of mortgage fraud. The Journal saying that the government has issued now subpoenas as part of an inquiry into whether she submitted fraudulent information on mortgage applications. So we knew that this was coming. This had been heavily signaled, but so far these were sort of referrals from Bill Pulte to the Justice Department, and Justice hadn't formally, that we knew of, moved on them yet. Now there's a criminal investigation open. These subpoenas have been issued. There is no reporting in this article as to who has received subpoenas at this point, just the fact that they've been sent. The White House responded to me requesting comment on this, just referring me to the Justice Department, and we haven't yet heard back from DOJ on this. But remember, guys, these continue to be allegations of mortgage fraud against Lisa Cook. She did say in a court filing just this week she has not ever committed that mortgage fraud, but we are waiting for the judge to rule whether she can remain in her job as this case moves forward. Guys.
Yep, I've heard the same thing from a senior administration official that there's a grand jury. See,
yeah, they're all in trouble. They're all in deep shit. RICO, arrests coming, et cetera, et cetera. I'm kind of looking forward to this debate tomorrow as a little change of pace. Hope you guys are going to be here. First off, it's going to be cool to have Jan Halper Hayes on the show. Plus, I might have a chance to get quite a few other people on here. What about SG Anon? I'm going to reach out to Jenny. Hell, maybe I can get Field McConnell on here. Who knows? It's endless. If I can pay my bills. All right, we're done with the news. Thank God. We got some different things to take a look at. Oh, I wanted to show you something real quick. You guys were asking what happened to the passengers of the planes on 9/11. I think Gingeroo, you were asking. I'm told this video might explain it a little.
The airlines, I could tell you all kinds of things about 9/11. The notion that it was an Arab attack is completely ludicrous. It was a CIA and Mossad operation with some participation in it also by MI6. It had one purpose and one purpose only, which was to make American citizenry angry enough so that the United States would go and spill its blood on behalf of Israel to balkanize as many of the Arab countries surrounding Israel as possible. And that was the whole point of it, that every commercial airline flight has something called a manifest. This is a printout list of who's on the flight. The airlines are very precise about these, and the big airlines like United and American, they maintain these manifests very rigorously from the time that people make reservations to the time when they check in. And when they board the plane, it's all checked against that. And the very last thing that happens before the door is slammed shut on an airplane is that the final version of a flight manifest is printed out and passed in to the head flight attendant and say, here's who's on the fucking plane. So you know where they are and who they are. And that is what's locked in stone. Now, after 9/11, there was an initial flurry of claims that there were Arabs on all these flights and that they took them over and crashed them into things. And there were even a few tentative ad hoc flight manifests that were put out, but these weren't the actual final ones from the airlines. Those didn't surface for some years, and they were very tightly kept away from the public eye. They're available now. You could actually hunt them down if you like, and any of your listeners can too, the final official passenger manifests. And guess what you'll find when you look at them? There's not a single Arab on any of them. Not one. Zero. I think you'll find that it's kind of difficult to hijack a plane unless you're on it, right?
Yeah, there is that problem. Yeah, there is that problem. Although, what about the uninterruptible autopilot? That can control the plane.
There is all four of those 757s in those days constructed by Boeing had an automatic device which was installed by Boeing, which would permit a controller on the ground to seize control of the airplane, much like the drone systems that we have today, take the control system away from the onboard pilots, and fly and land the plane. And this was originally an anti-hijacking measure, and it was, as I said, put on all of those planes at that time. That's a matter of documentation, which readers can also look up. When that happens, all of the other control systems, such as the ground-to-flight communications from the pilot, are also seized and moved to the person who is on the ground who is controlling these systems. So the pilots become essentially passengers in the cockpit. And this was, again, originally done to prevent airplanes from being hijacked. But what it also does is permit an airplane to be taken over from the ground and flown just like a drone. So this isn't crazy science. It's just a perfectly normal thing, like the Reapers or Predator drones. And in this case, the four planes were simply taken over. And to make a long story short, they were all flown to a almost completely disused air base in Massachusetts called Westover Air Base, where they were landed. The base had been cleared of all its residual personnel the day before. The base has large, oversized hangars, big enough to put 757s in, because the base was originally constructed for the C-5A Galaxy, the hugest military transports around. So the four planes were flown there. Selected members of the crews from them and selected passengers were then offloaded from the planes and used to make the quote-unquote cell phone calls. Now they could make the cell phone calls because their cell phones would now work, which they wouldn't way up in the air at cruising altitude. And, of course, on the ground, there is no background noise from the jets that you would normally hear. If you've ridden on any kind of a commercial jet, you know that it isn't a completely silent environment. There's all the jet noise, that's going on around you. But all those calls are completely silent, and as one very alert flight attendant would later point out, all the protocols keywords and code systems that flight crews are normally trained to use in the event of a hijacking were completely disregarded. Then the calls themselves were all within a few moments of each other, which was possible when you brought all the 4 planes down there together. After which, not to put too gentle a point on it, the passengers of those planes, including the ones who made the phone calls, were murdered. And so much for that. The planes themselves were then flown later on down to Florida, where there is a place, a company that converts commercial 757s to commercial industrial versions to haul stuff around, and that was their disposition, basically being cleaned out and.
So I wonder how they did that. Did they get some poor soldiers to, line them all up and gun them down, or they have the balls to, do it themselves? These tough CIA guys. Wow, that must have been fun, gunning down hundreds of people and then piling up the bodies. Pieces of shit. This story popped up today. I don't know if you do the scary story things or if you've heard of the Annabelle doll, but the guy that owned the Annabelle doll died while touring with her. I don't know if there's a story here or not.
The cause of death for Annabelle doll handler Dan Rivera has been revealed. Nearly 2 months after he was found dead while touring with the infamous horror relic, a Pennsylvania coroner told people in a statement, Dan's death followed a cardiac-related event. And no, Annabelle was not present in the room at the time of his passing, with officials saying Dan died of natural causes, consistent with his known history of cardiac issues. The paranormal investigator died July 13th while over...
They can't prove that. How do you know she didn't suddenly move and he had a heart attack? Like I almost had last night when a spider crawled up my leg. I'm dumb enough that I'd probably end up in a fist fight with somebody Hulk Hogan's size and not worry about it as much as when you have a spider crawling up your leg. How about we get to some lighter stuff to watch? It's time to learn something, right? All right, let's see what we got lined up tonight, people. What was that episode?